today with this Simplicity Broadmoor. We're going to replace the drive belt and the idler pulleys on it. Now this thing came in and he said that this pulley came off. He didn't know where it came from. Well, it is from the drive system, even though this thing was fully able to still drive. We pulled it in and out a couple days while it was here before we got to it, while we were waiting on the drive belt and the idler pulleys. And no smell or anything came from it. Everything seemed to actually be working pretty good for missing a pulley completely. When I pulled it in last night though, I did smell a strong burning rubber smell. Obviously it's gonna need that pulley replaced and the drive belt replaced. This is one of the mowers that has the electronic up and down control for the deck, so it may be a little bit different than yours if you have a Broadmoor where your deck just has the manual control on the side. But it is pretty much exactly the same as far as the process goes, except for how you remove the deck. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button as we go along if you enjoyed the content. On these, I like to remove the deck belt first. So if you grab your tension handle and pull it back, you can just roll the belt right off of the front pulley. That tension handle pulling back on it allows you to remove the only belt that attaches to the actual mower itself. The other lower belt is just for the spindles, so it's independent of this top belt. On each side you have a pin here, and this is for the spring control for the deck. It keeps the deck from swaying back and forth is all I believe it does. You can just remove that like such. I'm going to just let that hang on both sides. Just one pin that's pulled out. I've lowered the deck all the way down to the lowest position. Now all we have to do is take it out of transport and set it all the way to low. So the deck is actually on the ground now. It is not up in the air anymore. Next we can remove the electrical connection from here. Just pinch and pull it straight out. That way the electric motor and all the controls down here are disconnected from the mower. Next we'll go ahead and pull on this. It's a spring-loaded clip here, and then we'll pull straight up and forward. The whole front of the deck has been removed. The last step is to remove the chain hanger bracket in back. You can do this one of two ways. Either you can lift the deck up and get this up and off. I don't like lifting something heavy like that, so I'm actually just going to pull the pin and the washer, and I'm going to pull this straight off over to the side. Sometimes you still have to kind of lift a little bit to get that to come off. And again, if you'd like to, you can just lift that up and off so you don't have to take the pin and the washer off. I'll put those back on there for now. And there's one of those on each side. I jacked up the deck here slightly. It makes it easier to turn the wheel and to kind of get this deck out. Side here forward. I guess I should have got a little bit of a taller jack. That would have worked a little bit better. You get it kind of jammed in there otherwise. See if I can still make it work or not. Nope. Taller jack out. This one has it raised all the way. Turn that tire. Alright, deck, let's get out of there. Normally a little bit easier than that to get out. Now that we have the deck off, you can see the whole drive belt from the front. It sits right above the PTO clutch. We will have to remove it. We will also have to remove the steering linkage here. That nut has to come off and that arm has to come away so we can get the steering on both sides, or the belt on both sides of the steering here. And then also you can see your idler pulleys. We've got one here, and then we've got one that's supposed to be here. That's the one missing, the one that's broken. We've also got can see the transmission at the backs. Next, we can come to the right hand side here and follow the PTO clutch wires where they come through the frame. We'll go ahead and snip that zip tie movement together, and we'll disconnect this. That's your PTO clutch wiring. We'll just shove it down through the hole, and we'll take that PTO clutch off. The PTO clutch will come off when you remove the one bolt that's holding it on. It's 5/8. Well, that was pretty smooth. Came off extremely easy. Next, you'll want a 7/8 for the top, 14mm for the bottom. I'll allow you to remove that and get it out of the way, just the steering arm, so we can get that belt through there when we go to reinstall it. Next, at the front, we can just pull down on our pulley. As long as you have the parking brake locked in, it'll come right off. Obviously, we have one idler that's not there. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit harder than that, and you will have to actually roll it off as opposed to just take it straight off. Remember which way goes up? This is the small part that goes up in this instance. Next, I like to take a 9/16 and remove the idler pulley. And this is the one that's hard to get to. It's got a carriage bolt that goes all the way through. So you have to kind of either pull down or be careful when you're taking it out. You don't want it to fly up above the square up there and have an issue, or you can't get it off. Now, if you're not replacing these idler pulleys, you don't have to take this all the way off. Loose is enough to get the belt to come out and around that pulley. In our case, since we're replacing it, we're going to take the carriage bolt completely out the top. Take that pulley completely out also. I think yeah, there we go. Now we have the back pulley, which is a lot easier. Much simpler. And it just comes down like such. Should actually have a pulley on it at some point, but this one doesn't. Remember which one came from where? In this case, the V pulley is towards the back, and the flat pulley is towards the front. So the belt up top around the transmission can just come off, but you do need to take off this pin here in order to get the belt around the rod, which is for the actuator for the forward and backwards of the transmission itself. So we'll take the pin out, we'll push it through, and then that rod comes straight up. Pin up, and then you can just snake your belt through. It's got to come down below this, and everything can come out. You do have to snake it out through where we took the steering rod off also. Just bring it around the bolt, and then down through and around. Now our belt is completely free. All we have to do is put it back on. Well, we're back. I had to take a hiatus yesterday from doing this. It was getting to be about time we were going to open. I always like to do it in the morning. It's a little bit quieter. You don't get interrupted as much. We've got a 172-1392 SM. That's the Briggs & Stratton OEM belt. We use OEM belts on all this. 1721133 SM idler pulley, and a 1721134 SM idler pulley. That's the V pulley. One that was actually bad that now looks like this. We're going to get all this put back on, get this thing back into action. First off, we'll get this belt back around. Reaching up through the back is pretty easy on this one also. You got plenty of room. As long as it's around that notch and through. So I've got one on each side. If I start to bring this back, I get this on that side and this on that side of the linkage. Put that back in there. I think we have it locked into park right now. Let me take the parking brake off. Changed our position. Now we're able to have enough slack to get that in there. Got our washer. And then the pin that goes through. Take a screwdriver in the back and just kind of bend that a little bit. Kind of a pain to get to, really, but we're going to next make sure it's above all of these bars in the back, a few of them. Make sure it didn't get all twisted up like mine just did. And then we're going to go and put it past the steering arm here, so it'll kind of level it out and keep it in the right spot as we go to put everything else back together. So that kind of keeps everything up. You can tuck it around the front too if you want, around the front shaft of the engine. Usually it'll stay up just like that, so you can put the idler pulleys on back here again. And put this carriage bolt down through. Wipe all this grease up here real quick. Get that all off of that idler. Quite a bit of it up on there. Add a little fresh grease. Now we're going to do the V idler, which sits in back just like such, and it's going to sit in the notch of this. And as it goes up on, that is a carriage bolt, so you've got to kind of either hold it from the top, you've got to kind of let it work its way down through as you're going. Doesn't seem to want to go very easily. I'll hold it from the back side. And you got to make sure that that belt gets in that keeper.
our 9/16 on, 14 millimeter, whatever. Flat idler. The belt's going to come to this side for this one. It's kind of hard to get up in there just at this angle. You got to push that carriage bolt up as you bring it in, and then drop it down through the center when it gets lined up. Also got to make sure that that belt stays on this side. Hitting the brake. That just gave me that extra room I needed to push that down in. Still see your V-idler real well. This one you can see, just not nearly as well. Push it up, get this nut started. Really hard to get the right angle on this one. Pull that down and go ahead and tighten up that bolt while you're doing it. As long as that carriage bolt's in the notch and you hold down on the pulley, it'll keep that carriage bolt in place while you tighten it. Not enough room to get an impact or anything else in here. Now's a good time to double check, make sure that that belt stayed on at the back, and then it's good coming all the way to the front. So it's going to be above both of these bars. It's going to go around the V-idler. The keeper's got to be in on that side, and then the V-idler keeper has to be in on this side, just like such. Go all the way to the front. Good view there that goes through. Here, remember which way your pulley goes down. I throw some anti-seize on in there. Both sides. Ooh, looks like this brush is starting to fall apart. That's no good. Don't want any of those hairs in there. Get it a good coating all along it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a new tube. Somebody told me food grade. One of the viewers, I think it said Leo Sweeney maybe. Anyway, yeah, there's hairs all in this. He said this was the messy stuff. The food grade anti-seize did a lot better. I'm gonna try that this next time, I think. I've got the parking brake on currently. I'm just gonna line up. You can either do one of two things. You can just put it up there and get the belt on once you've got it up there, or you can try to put it in and roll it around afterwards. With the parking brake off, it gives you a little more room to work with. Shouldn't be completely tight once you have it up on there, but it does have to go on there before you get it past. There's a keeper on this back side, so before you roll the belt or before you put the pulley up that far, you do have to have that there. Otherwise it won't sit in this keeper here. Got that on there. I'm going to put just a tiny bit more anti-seize down in the clutch here. Always hate it when clutches get stuck on. We don't want that to happen. And we're also going to anti-seize the clutch bolt. Good and covered. got to make sure your notch lines up here with the anti-spin bracket as it goes up on there. Well, apparently my key's over here. There we are. Turn that, line it up. We're good there. Now you want to make sure you don't over tighten that bolt, but that bolt does have to be tight enough also. If you're not sure, look up the torque specs. This impact gun does almost perfect as far as torquing it goes. Not too tight, but tight enough that it stays on. Now we can hook the clutch back up. We can get the rest of the steering arm fixed up and the deck back on. And this is our other nut. That's the one with the flat kind of flange looking piece to it. I'm just going to go with this steering arm. Just back in there. If you move the steering left to right, you'll line it up with the bolt. Go ahead and tighten it down. Again, that's a 7/8 to the top. One more time how everything should look. This is with the deck not engaged. With it engaged, the pulleys are going to look a little bit further back and the belt's going to be tighter. Push your cable or your PTO clutch back up through. You'll plug it in. Good to go there. And then we'll want to add a zip tie here where this was zip tied before, just right here to this frame. Hold it in place from moving. Now is a great time to go ahead and grease the spindles, do any of the blade work or anything you need to do, because it's all completely out and ready to go. See how much that deck drops that table when I put the weight up on there. This thing is heavy. Do yourself a favor, if you've got back issues, do not try to do this without a back brace on. It is something that's heavy. Drop that deck now, or drop the mower. It's on the other side of the Looks like we've got it most of the way lined up. Take the pin and the washer out. We're just going to get that back in there. Again, you do have to kind of lift this a little bit to get that to line up. It's the same thing over here. Now I don't have to lift this side up because that other side's actually kind of hanging off the deck a little bit. So it's lifted up already for me. Or hanging off the table anyway. Got that going. Up front here again, we just pull this piece and then we're going to lift up and latch that down in the catches on both sides. Now the front's up like it should be. So we want to hook this spring back up. It's quite a ways away from where it needs to go here though. So we're going to move the deck adjustment up to the highest setting. That'll help us get to where we need to go. And then you can either lift the deck a little bit or kind of just lift it straight up in there. There's that one on the other side also. I actually completely forgot until a second ago that this pin goes right back on here to make sure that this doesn't fall off. And it's on both sides also. We'll hook the connection back up over here for the mower lift. Just plug it back in. All this just kind of hangs here. There's this extra connection and 2 other auxiliary connections for other things. Those don't get plugged into anything. And to slip the belt back on, all we're going to do is we're going to take the belt and kind of hold it up and then move this arm out and slip it right back on. Everything should spin freely. We're good to go.
Well, there we have it, another dry belt replacement on a Simplicity. Not the easiest job in the world, but not extremely difficult either. This deck makes it a lot more difficult than the majority of these though. If yours has the adjustment that screws on the side on one of these Broadmoors, it's going to be just a slight bit different, but a lot easier than this. Anyway, hopefully this helps somebody out get their dry belt replaced. Thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed the content.